everyone, welcome back to So Arizona. Today I'm doing a fun project, and that is sharing with you an alternative way to starting tomato plants rather than starting from seeds or from transplants that you purchase. And that is propagating your tomato plants by cuttings. And one of the reasons I love doing this is because it saves time and money. I already have tomato plants growing right here, and I can simply make a cutting, and I'll show you how you do that, and then I will get a tomato plant that's ready to set out in the garden much more quickly, that is a lot more mature than one that I have to start from seed weeks in advance. Another reason that I like doing this method is because if I have a hybrid tomato plant that I've tried and really like, it is much easier to take a cutting of that tomato plant and have a plant that produces fruits that are true to type or true to what I'm expecting, rather than having to purchase those hybrid seeds again and again. Instead, I can just simply take the cutting and have a plant much more quickly. Remember that with hybrid plants, the seeds that you save from those fruits are not going to grow true. So you're not going to get the plant or the produce that you expect if you save the seeds from the hybrids that you grow, because they could have any number of traits from their parent plants. So you have to either purchase seedlings the following season to grow that hybrid again, or you have to purchase seeds of that hybrid from a seed company to grow that again. Last week I shared some of my tried and true favorite tomato varieties, as well as some new varieties that I am trying for the first time. And one of those tried and true favorites was the Tidy Rose tomato. And this tomato is a semi-determinate. It's a very sturdy, very compact plant, but it produces a petite beefsteak style of pink tomato. And this is one that I got from a free sample several years ago, and I've just been using those seeds as I go. I store them in the refrigerator, and they have still been germinating really well. As I was recommending this particular tomato variety, the Tidy Rose, over the last few seasons to people, I found that Harris Seed Company did have that tomato variety available in the form of seeds for home gardeners. And that was the case up until even last spring. But when I did that video just last week on some of my favorites, and I recommended the Tidy Rose, I was providing the seed company that I source each one of those varieties from for you all for your convenience. And as I was looking up the Tidy Rose, I saw that Harris Seed Company actually doesn't offer that seed anymore. In fact, no seed company that I could find offers that seed for home gardeners. I found, I think it was Pan Am Seeds, which is a producer of large amounts of seeds for usually seed companies or large scale growers. They have it, but it is not available for home gardeners in small supplies. So that means that the free sample seeds that I have been pulling from for the last few years are the only seeds I have, and I just have a few left. So this is a case where taking a cutting is actually going to provide me with a favorite tomato that I no longer have access to. So when it comes to the reasoning for why you would take a tomato cutting and try to do that instead of starting from seed or from transplant, that is another reason. Maybe the variety that you want isn't available anymore, and if it's a hybrid, you can't save the seeds from the fruits that you're harvesting to try to keep growing that, which is the case here for me with the Tidy Rose tomato. So I'm going to show you how you do this. It's very simple, and this whole process is probably going to take you under 6 weeks total to have a really nice sized tomato seedling to put out in your garden, which will be right on time for planting tomatoes outside in our spring garden here in the Southwest. So you can see this plant is nice and healthy, and it's actually got quite a few ripe fruits down here that I have just been harvesting and harvesting from, and that is really impressive. So I've got quite a few potential sites where I could take the cutting. So I have a couple of different plants here that have survived miraculously until the first of the year. Today is January 5th. And so I've got some tips that that are actively growing, which is a really important thing that you want to look for. I don't necessarily want one that has blooms on it. If you don't have any other choice and you need to take a cutting from a tip that's got blooms, then you can just simply prune those blooms off, because you don't want the plant to be putting energy into the bloom and fruit. You want it to be putting energy into forming roots. So this one actually looks fairly good. It's nice and straight. I'm going to go ahead and do that, but you want to make sure that you have 2 to 3 leaf nodes. I like 3, maybe even 4. So the leaf node is here, where the side branch or side leaf is attached to the central stem. So you want to have 1, 2, 3 at least, maybe even 4 if you want to go down a little further. And that's where you would cut with some nice sharp pruners. All right, so I've got my nice clean but old pruners. So I'm going to go ahead and make that cut right there. And then I'll show you how I prep it. Before I came outside, I filled a jar with water. I actually have 3 jars because I'm taking cuttings from 3 different varieties of tomatoes, and I labeled each one. So this one says Tidy Rose, and it's got the date on it so that I can keep track of that. It's really important that when you take your cutting that you have your water ready. You want to put the stem right in so it doesn't dry out. So now that I have this stem or cutting, I'm going to be just cleaning it up. I'm going to take these bottom branches off because I don't want those leaves under the water and risking having any rot or fungal problems. So I trimmed off that one bloom, and I see there's another stem right here that's got a bloom, so I'm just going to pinch that off really carefully. So now I've got my little cutting. This one's probably about 8 inches long, just so for a reference, and then I will simply stick it right into my jar of water. I'm going to take several of these. I think I'm going to take 6 or 8 cuttings just so that I have some extras, just in case, you know, they don't take root, because sometimes that happens. So let's go get the rest of those cuttings. This one looks pretty nice up here too, so let me take that. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go down here for 4, and I notice, probably because of the cold weather, some of these little side stems or side branches are actually just falling off right on their own, which is fine. I'll just take those. So I've got one that has 4 little leaf nodes on it, and I see there's a little bloom on the top right here. The little buds haven't gotten open yet. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to pinch that off carefully. I'm going to put that in the water too. And so let's collect the rest. We're supposed to get our first hard frost in a couple of days, and so I wanted to make sure I came out and got these cuttings before this entire plant got frozen, because I'm sure that that is what is going to happen. Our temperature is forecasted to be 32, which is much too cool for a tomato plant to survive. Tomatoes are very frost tender to those hard freezes. So I thought that it would be a great opportunity today to come out and share with you how to do this technique, and also to get my cuttings and show you how to do it. I've got enough for the Tidy Rose tomato, so I think what I'll do is move on to my other varieties that I wanted. Look at that one, how nice that looks. This already looks like a little tomato seedling, and so it won't take too long for that to develop some nice roots and become a really nice seedling. So I'm just going to put that in the water like that. Look how cute that is. I had several emails and a couple of comments about the Tidy Rose tomato, because after I released that video, a few of you were looking for that variety. You were looking for a company to source your seeds from. I am sorry that seeds for one of my favorite varieties of tomato isn't available to you any longer. And I know that showing you how to take cuttings of the Tidy Rose tomato in my garden is not going to help you source the Tidy Rose for your garden, but it will show you how to start tomatoes from cuttings if you've got a favorite hybrid that isn't available any longer. So I've taken cuttings from 3 of my favorite tomato varieties this year. The Tidy Rose, which obviously I can't get seeds for anymore. I've got the Thornburns Terracotta, and I've got the Afghan Orange. The Thornburns Terracotta and the Afghan Orange I have plenty of seeds for. In fact, I started seeds in my seedling trays in the house. But I am doing some cuttings of these because I can get much bigger seedlings to go out in the spring, and so I'm just trying to double my efforts at making sure I get a successful tomato harvest from some of my favorites. So I figure if I've got some seedlings that are bigger and ready to go, I will surely get some nice tomatoes before the temperatures get too hot in the summertime here in Tucson. Now that I've got the cuttings done and I've got them safely in water, I want to take just a few minutes to tell you exactly what the time frame is on this process. And it's actually only about 4 to 5 weeks. So if you take a cutting of your tomato and you stick it right into water, and you can put it in a nice bright light, but not a direct light. So if you have a south facing window, you may not want to put it right in there because the sun shining directly on it may stress this little cutting out a little too much before it's ready to handle it. So I have a seedling rack that's got some LED grow lights on it. That works really well. Or if you have a room that gets nice bright light, but maybe not that hot direct sun in the afternoon, that would be a really good place to put it too. Now that I've got these cuttings done, I can expect to see root formation and nice roots in 2 to 3 weeks. So in 2 to 3 weeks time, there will be enough roots on these cuttings that I can then up pot them into a nice pot that's got some nice moist potting soil in it. And then from there, in another couple of weeks, that tomato seedling should be pretty well established so that I can put it out when the danger of frost has passed, out into my garden or into my containers or into my raised beds, whichever you choose. That would work depending on the variety and the size of tomato at maturity. The next thing that you need to do once you set your tomato seedling out is to cover it with a bit of shade cloth so that you can harden it off. That shade cloth is going to provide a wind break so that it doesn't get exposed to hard, strong winds that may blow it over, as well as the drying aspect of winds that happens. You want the seedling to have a root system that is robust enough and deep enough that it can search out water and withstand, 2, 3, or 4 days in between waterings, but that won't come for quite a few weeks after you put it outside. So just in review, take your cutting, put it in water, give it some bright light, and then in 2 to 3 weeks time you will see enough root growth that you can go to the next stage, and that is up potting it into a moist potting soil. This is a really easy shortcut for starting your own tomato seedlings, whether it's because you want free plants, because you want to speed up the process, or because you want to propagate a plant that is no longer available to you. So I love taking tomato cuttings. You can also do it with eggplants and with peppers, but that is a lot more tricky and not always as successful. But tomatoes are so easy. So I would highly recommend that you try this method. Now I'm going to go put these little tomato cuttings underneath my grow lights in the house, and these little jars are going to provide me a window to see exactly what is going on and show me when the roots are ready to go to the next step. I hope that this helps you with sourcing tomatoes either quickly or for free or from some of your favorite varieties. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today. I'm Kara from Arizona. Until next time, happy gardening.